Well, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. I've driven the 10 hours to Cape Town to meet up with fellow South African air gunners Gerard and Rolf, and after more than a year of having to keep a secret, I finally get to show you the FX Hybrid Slugs and chat about why I think they are worth taking really seriously. I've specifically set up a short compact impact shooting the new 22 grain 217 caliber hybrids at around 980 feet per second to show you that you don't need a cannon to shoot slugs. And we're going to go hard at the Pigeons, Starlings and English Sparrows on this dairy farm today. So as you can see, they look like pellets from the back. Looks exactly like almost like a JSB pellet skirt, but it's not. So they're nice and light, just 1 grain, less than 1 grain higher than like an H&N Barracuda, for example, which is a very popular pellet for many people. So very excited to see how these do today. So that was my first animal of the day. Hit him really hard, so what can I say? I think the footage speaks for itself. Spot on at, I'm guessing, about 50 or 60 meters. Gun is zeroed at 25, which ends up being, the second zero is actually at 50, so I just left it as it was. Sat down, practiced my seating position here with my elbows rested on my knees, lined up on the dove, and he went straight down with a nice thud. So I think we're in for a good day. So I just shot my first dove with the hybrids, and I won't show it to you in detail, but basically, yeah, it blasted a big chunk out of that dove. So very happy with that. That's what you want to see from a hollow point slug. You want to see it actually expanding. BC is supposed to be pretty high, 0.08, which is very, very high for a slug of that weight. I believe it's the highest BC in that weight class. So we should be able to take some longer shots as well, even though the wind is blowing. So let's get to it, let's see what we can do. Dead. So 62 meters, the wind is blowing now, so I held just a tiny bit to the left, and I saw, the nice thing about these slugs is because of that indented base, the sun reflects nicely off the back of the slug, and I could see it go all the way there, so that's awesome. Another one down. That one looked like he was about to take off, so I had to take a very quick shot there, but got on him nicely, and it looks like they keep coming back, so let's keep on going. And another one. Awesome. So that's 3 starlings down in a row. It's weird to see so many starlings today. I don't get too many starlings back home, so it's a nice change from what I'm used to back in my hometown. So it's having a good morning so far. Okay, well, I'm really sorry to interrupt this wonderful hunting video, but we need to get technical here for just a moment, because the hybrid slugs are not like any other airgun slugs, and there's some really unique stuff happening there. So it's probably worth a few minutes of blabber. First, for comparison, let's look at the design of a regular hollow point slug. These absolutely have a place and won't be going anywhere anytime soon because of a number of strengths they have. For one, they're a lot easier to make, which in turn means it's cheaper to make them. Big advantage there. And secondly, they are usually heavier for a given length. And that means you can get the weights up if needed for that extra punch when hunting, or that crazy long shot where you want to get the BC as high as possible. Just to be clear, you are going to still see me shooting with traditional hollow point slugs. I do think there's a place for both traditional slugs and hybrid slugs. In fact, I think they're actually quite different from each other, and the hybrids are kind of the bridge between the pellets and the slugs. So you're going to see both my channel, just want to confirm that. Shooters like myself tend to want to go for heavier slugs because a higher sectional density means a higher ballistic coefficient, which means better long range performance, but weight isn't always a good thing, and a lot of air guns out there aren't capable of shooting heavy slugs, and that's where the hybrids come in. The hybrids are made using a patented multi-stage swaging process, which essentially takes a lot of weight from the inside of the slug, giving you the shape of a slug but more towards the weight of a pellet,
and this has many advantages. The process of making a hybrid slug is time consuming and costly, but there are a number of reasons why you should consider paying a little bit extra for them. From an interior ballistics point of view, the hybrids seem to not mind being shot out of very tight barrels with very tight chokes, which are traditionally associated with pellets. The thin walls seem to be able to adapt to the barrel much better than the solid walls of a traditional slug. While testing the hybrid slugs in the very early stages, basically a year ago at the FX factory, we discovered that they actually like to be shot out of a standard pellet liner, and that I found quite interesting because standard slugs just don't like being shot out of a pellet liner, despite the fact that they're the exact same diameter. This is good news for you guys who have Wildcats or Dreamlines with Smooth Twist X pellet liners in them and want to be able to shoot something lightweight like a pellet without having to buy a completely new liner. You can essentially just chuck the hybrid straight in, get shooting, and they should shoot really well. And of course, you'll get a far superior ballistic performance to pellets because the slugs basically have a BC of 0.08 and a pellet has less than half of that. It's more like 0.03 to 0.035 for a 16 to 18 grain JSB. So you're going to get basically half the drop at the same power, which is awesome. When it comes to exterior ballistics, that's how the projectile flies through the air. This is where it got really interesting for me. I noticed a number of things out the ordinary. Firstly, I noticed that the hybrid slugs have a ballistic coefficient roughly equivalent to that of a traditional slug, 3 to 4 grains heavier. Now this points to the fact that the hybrid slugs are likely more stable flying through the air. They're the same shape as a traditional slug, a little bit lighter, but they're flying straighter, which means that the airflow over the slug is a little bit better. Spin stabilization is a factor that plays a part in stability. Slugs normally have their center of pressure in front of their center of gravity and therefore need some help from the spin induced by the rifling in a barrel. We figured out that for some reason the hybrids seem to prefer much slower twist rates than traditional slugs. This indicates that their balance is in some way better. Normally, gyroscopic stabilization improves as the caliber gets bigger, and that's essentially because the mass is further away from the center axis of the slug. It's kind of like if you have a big spinning top versus a small spinning top. The big spinning top spinning at the same rate as a small spinning top will stay spinning for longer because that weight is further away. In the case of hybrid versus a traditional slug though, the caliber is the same. The difference is that the hybrid has all of its weight concentrated around the outer circumference of the slug, while the traditional slug is more spread out. Weight around the outer circumference essentially shifts the center of mass towards the outside, which means it doesn't have to spin as fast to have the same gyroscopic stabilization, keeping it centered nicely. This means that the slug will be flying straighter, which means improved ballistic coefficient and improved accuracy. It also means you can shoot it out of a slow twist barrel, which means that there'll be less Magnus forces on the slug in strong crosswinds, which means your vertical dispersion will be much better. It's pretty awesome. Comparing trajectories of different weight slugs, you'll notice that the hybrids have a trajectory similar to a 26 grain solid hollow point slug fired at the same speed. This means that you can achieve the same ballistic performance with significantly less air, or just do what I do and use a shorter barrel. It's pretty useful if you want a lightweight setup. Mass producing slugs at high quality is not easy, so at first I was a little bit concerned when I heard about this project, but the guys who make these slugs have been making bullets for rimfire and centerfires for years, including some of the world's best known rimfire match ammo companies. So they know what they're doing, and it's crazy to see just how perfect every single one of these slugs are. The weight variance is less than a tenth of a grain in a whole batch, and sometimes within a few hundredths of a grain. This means tighter extreme spreads and tighter groups. And of course, from a terminal ballistics point of view, that hollow cavity is freaking massive, so expect some proper expansion when hunting. As I say, the proof is in the pop, and talking about the pop, let's get back to the hunting. Of course, the guys from Air Hunters were with me, and they weren't using hybrids in this video. They were actually using 30 and 34 grain hollow point slugs. So this will be a good comparison between hybrids and traditional slugs. As you can see, when it comes to terminal performance, a 22 grain hybrid is no match for a 34 grain slug, but that's purely due to the weight difference, and that's why I think that there's a place for both options in our industry.
You know that sound? That's the sound of a sparrow being sent to the afterlife. It's a good sound. Solid thud. I'm enjoying actually, instead of lying prone, these shots are all pretty close, within 50 or 60 meters, so I'm enjoying actually practicing sitting in different positions. With a nice short gun like this, 600mm barrel, 480cc bottle, smallish scope, it's something that you can do. If I was using like big 34 grain slugs and my bigger setup, you'd not want to get in weird positions because it'd be awkward to hold the gun still. But with this setup, it's nice to do that. I'm actually really enjoying this nice short setup, and I guess that's the advantage of the hybrids. You can use a nice short compact setup, save a lot of air, and I'm still getting 980 feet per second, which is one of the reasons why those birds are popping so nicely. That speed just allows that slug to open up nicely when it hits its target. So yeah, nice to do something different for a change.
I just want to take a moment to discuss tuning, because tuning is an important part of accuracy in a PCP, and this little clip is mind-blowing. I shoot these groups here at 3 different velocities, and you can clearly see how the group tightens up simply by adjusting the hammer spring. I'm not saying that you should try and shoot these at blitzing speeds like I am. That may not work in every barrel, and I know that some guys have been getting excellent results at very low speeds too, but that's the beauty of trying something new. You get to discover these things for yourself. So I've got something very interesting to show you guys here. I'm not sure if you've ever seen what starling eggs look like, but I actually found a little starling nest. As you can see, they're actually quite small and colorful. They've got little spots on them. I'm just kidding, it's chocolate. And now delicious.
Okay, that's a nice shot. That one was center of mass. Center of mass, pop. Super happy. Oh, clapped him. That's 103 meters in some pretty strong wind. And the fact that the slugs are hitting high means that the BC is actually probably higher than what's published. I think FX were quite conservative with their BC of 0.08. I think realistically it's probably a bit higher than that, which is insane considering it's only a 22 grain slug. That's actually really crazy. So I'll have to do my trajectory validation again and redo my turrets, but the fact that I'm only, let's see, back off half a mil from that, that's like 2.3 mils at 103 meters. That's insane. That's a 25 meter zero. That's crazy. Very happy with that. You hold for wind at all?
Yeah, I did left edge of the bird, but I'm shooting 30 grains.
I filmed this one at 1000 frames per second so I could see the slug in flight a little bit longer. It lands exactly where I aimed, center of mass on the sparrow, and you can see his mate coming out of the roof here. These birds nest in the roofs of the sheds, which is a major problem for the farmer, and of course we're always happy to blast them. The wind actually starts picking up quite a bit at this point, but I'm pretty happy about that because I get to show you how the hybrids handle the wind.
Did.
Very, very well. Most of these shots are pretty close, so you won't see any wind holds at all, but the shots past 50 meters require some thinking.
71 meters, held a tiny bit for the wind, but drilled him right in the chest. Perfect shot. I must say, I mean, you look here, that's 1 mil. 1 mil holdover at 70 meters. I zeroed the scope at 25 meters. To have 1 mil holdover at 70 meters, that shows just how far the industry has come. You know, a few years ago, shooting pellets, you'd be at 2 mil. So this is half the drop, literally half the drop at 70 meters. And this is now, you can say, factory ammunition. This is not a custom-made slug. This is something that's being mass-produced. And it's good that we've got competition in the industry now. We've got a few really good slug manufacturers. H&N have stepped in. You've got Nielsen Specialty Ammo, and now the FX Hybrids, and all that competition is going to eventually bring the price right down. So I think we're in for a treat for the future. But there's a few more pigeons there. I'm just going to smash one more while I'm at it. Let's see what we can do. Another one bites the dust. So, need I say more? Probably not.
It's a beautiful day here in the Western Cape. We're having an awesome morning so far, and it's feeding time, which means that the pigeons will be out and about. I get an opportunity at just over 100 meters, and again managed to film this at 1000 frames per second. I aim for the lower neck on this bird, and the result is pretty funny. The hybrid just nicks the neck and plucks a few feathers off, but ends up hitting the bird at the back, direct in the neck, and putting it down on the spot. Not what I expected, but I guess I'll take it. And Rolf has no sympathy for starlings. 34 grains to the chest deals with this one pretty severely.
And he's down. So that one was fairly close. I'd say probably 40 meters. So I pretty much aimed it on and take the shot in. It wasn't a huge thump, but he didn't go anywhere. So happy with that.
This one was so close that I couldn't get my parallax set down enough on my SHV. I had to zoom all the way out, but man, what a thump. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that the hybrids are expanding.
Cornholed that one for sure. He got hit very hard. I'm very happy with that. 46 meters. Held a tiny bit for wind left to right. Got the parallax sorted, and down he goes.
And my air is still at like 240 bar, which is crazy. My feeling is that with the heat picking up, the air is probably expanding as well, the pressure's rising a bit. But you know, the fact that I'm guessing probably 80, 90, 100 shots out of the setup is absolutely insane. It's a few of these large capacity magazines worth, and that just shows with these hybrid slugs they're really not using anywhere near as much air as we would if we were using, let's say, 26, 28, 30, 34 grain slug. So it's nice to know that I can go the whole day on one bottle without having to worry about bringing too many spares with me. It's a big advantage, especially hunting like this. You don't have to walk back in the sun back to your truck and refill on air all the time. You want to have a decent supply to get you through the day. Well guys, it's been an awesome day. I hope you've enjoyed seeing Gerard and Rolf, and they've actually filmed quite a bit of footage here as well that's different to my footage, so you can go to their channel, Air Hunters. I'll link it down below and you can check out their videos. But I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been cool to try something new and exciting for me to see the industry moving forward, to have so many options now for slugs and see stuff that's kind of bridging the gap like this between pellets and slugs is fantastic. Last thing I want to mention, you may notice that I'm wearing a pretty cool shirt over here. It says I'd rather be hunting. It's a really nice cut, got a little South African flag here and my Arms Hunting South Africa logo on the other side. If you want to buy one of these shirts, comment down below and say that you want to, because if there's enough interest, I'm going to start selling them. We've already got kind of contingency plans in place to get these out to all of you guys, sell them internationally, but I just want to make sure there's enough interest. So comment down below, let me know if you like these shirts or not. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps YouTube to recognize that it's something that you want to see, so that it actually shows up in your subscriber feed. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.